Parker, I bet I know what you asked for Christmas this year. I bet I know what you asked for. I bet you asked for another episode of the 1203 Experience.
Oh, yeah. That's it. I was getting worried. I was like, oh, shit, this could be anything. I don't know what you think I thought. Because you're talking about stuff, my deepest, darkest desires, buddy. It gets pretty dark pretty quick. So, yeah, another episode of 1203. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about just good old 1203. Yeah, you're right. You're totally right.
That's what you wanted. I nailed it.
Yeah. No, nothing
Merry
else.
Christmas.
That was it.
This is what
Merry
I got
Christmas.
you. We're only.
I
just did the math. I just counted it up. We're only 9 sleeps away from Christmas morning. Only 9.
I do like Christmas, even though it's been such a crazy year. Thanksgiving and Christmas have been like, but for some reason, even this year, even in this crazy year, I still love Thanksgiving. I still love Christmas. I still love my coming home to my family and hanging out with my cousins and seeing everybody, because that's at the end of the day, it's good. It's just good to hang out with family and close ones and just talk about how crazy this year has been, because it's been up and down for everybody, it seems.
I think I'm more excited this year for Christmas, not so much about Christmas Day, but the fact that Christmas means we're 5 days away from the end of 2020.
Oh, yeah. No, that's probably true. But that's my whole point, is just this whole year has been, and it just had to be. So it was 2020. It was already crappy to start off. Then we got a virus, and then it just happened to be an election year, so everyone was at each other's
like right
throats.
out the gate, we lost Kobe. Like right out the gate.
We lost Kobe right out the gate, and then it was just everybody was at each other's throats the whole year long. And
but
if
stressful. They got too close to each other's throats, they gave each other a deadly virus. So
well, then some people didn't believe it was a virus. Some people thought it was fake.
Kept
so they
jumping on
kept
people's
going
throats.
at it anyway. And there's still people to this day that don't believe it's a virus. And so there's people that are like, hey, and now there's a vaccine, and people don't believe in the vaccine now. So it's like everyone's flip-flopping. Now it's like, okay, I hate the vaccine. Stupid. There's no way they can get it out in time. They get the vaccine out in time. Ooh, I really want it. Now I don't want it. But now you want it, so I don't want it. But I don't want to be on your side, so I don't want to take it. I mean, that's what we're dealing with, Reed. That's America right now.
I think this would make a fantastic Parker and Dad episode, just crapping on the whole COVID situation and the whole vaccine.
Just crapping on both sides. By the way,
both sides,
because both sides have been. This whole vaccine thing has just been hilarious. Just following. Oh, you want it now? Now you think it's a good idea? Well, I don't want it's a good idea. Literally, both sides have completely flip flopped on everything, and it's like, what the hell is going on? I'm so confused.
Yeah, well, we did not meet last week. For those of you that were like, where was the 1203? We had a busy week last week, or at least I did personally, so we didn't get around to it. I apologize for that. We are back this week, and then after this week, obviously, we will not have a show next week. Next week is Christmas. But we have a lot of good stuff to talk about today, so hopefully you can listen to today's show over and over and over, and it'll tide you over for the next 2 weeks. We got a lot of Houston Rockets. I know we've been talking a lot of Houston Rockets, but there's been a lot of news in the Houston Rockets category, so we're going to talk a lot of that.
So when you thought about what I wanted for Christmas, I was wanting one of those personal trainers that James Harden talked about.
No, the ones that still let him be chubby?
Have you guys seen James Harden's that's another point. Have you guys seen James Harden's latest interview? He was talking about he had to go to Vegas to see his personal trainers. And I'm like, dude, I know what you mean by personal trainers, and I don't think they're called that.
I don't think.
They're called sex
He
workers.
didn't. He didn't
No,
say. He didn't say
what
physical
is he training
trainers.
for? I know what he's training for. It's not basketball.
Not winning basketball, anyway.
It wasn't. It didn't have anything to do with the court.
Where was that?
Maybe that's what he called his bedroom, the court. But he had a lot of buffet. Made a buffet too. He was at the buffet.
That's
line
what I'm
too.
trying to find the picture that came out today where he was looking. Here it is. I'm gonna see if I can get it on the.
Yeah, he's. Well, if you guys see it, if you can get it up, but it was like a whole different Harden. It was like as fat as he's ever been. It was like Eddie Lacy fat. Remember when Eddie Lacy reported to Green Bay or wherever he was?
And he was huge.
And he was huge, and everybody was like making fun of Eddie Lacy. And I'm like, I could see a football guy getting fat.
Here it is.
Honestly,
there it is.
Because I could see a football guy getting fat, and as you guys see it, I could see a football guy getting fat because that's what you're trained to do in football. You're trained to eat like nonstop, work out, eat, tack on mass, tack on muscle. I could see Eddie Lacy getting fat. What James Harden's doing, I mean, if you're in any kind of basketball shape, there's no way you get that fat. There's no way you let yourself. I mean, that's fat. Yeah, that's really fat for him. So, like, that's as fat as I've ever seen him.
For a
That looks like Rick
professional
Ross.
athlete, I mean, he might have Boogie beat, and Boogie's a big dude.
Boogie's skinny. Boogie looks way better, and so does John Wall. The Rockets looked really in sync in the first few games without James Harden, and they still look good with him, but it's like the whole dynamic changes. It's so predictable. They pass it to Harden, dribble, shoot step back three. It works. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter. It's all reliant on him. John Wall and Boogie get going, and they get their rhythm going, and they pass the ball around, and Steve Silas, the coach, gets his offense in place. Then it looks like a good offense, and they're moving the ball, and whether they win or lose in the preseason, it actually looks like they're running plays. Well, James Harden, the whole team has to get used to playing with James Harden. It's completely different when he's out there because he demands so much. He wants the ball all the time. So it just takes away from the offense. So I'm not a big fan of him coming back. I think he should just stay where he should stay in Vegas and party. And if the Rockets get anything out of him, they get something out of him. But honestly, at this point, I'd rather him just stay home. I don't really see the need for him to come back. He's already made his choices clear. He doesn't.
I was
going to
say he's definitely made it very vocal that he's not interested in remaining a Rocket, or at least much longer. But there doesn't seem to be.
Let him get fat for a year. His value would shrink down. He would still get paid this year, but whenever his contract is up,
he won't pull a Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell came back stronger after sitting out a year. I don't think he would do that. I mean,
I don't think he would.
He took 3 months off and became the new Marshmallow Man. Like,
I would actually not want him to play because all he wants to do is raise his stock, is what he's doing now while he's playing. And maybe he looks good, maybe he doesn't. But I would let him sit out and visit his personal trainers in the buffet and let him get really fat and out of shape for a year and then see. Because teams aren't – I don't know if there's any GM foaming at the mouth that wants James Harden right now.
How old is James Harden?
He's got to be in his 30s at least.
I'm going to look it up. I'm really curious. 30s. Really curious how old James Harden is because I feel like he's been around forever.
Yeah, he's not in his 20s, I don't think, but he's got to be in his 30s. So he's getting there at the age where he
31.
Needs to, 31, yeah. See, you get to 30, things start changing for you when you're an athlete.
There's so many articles coming out right now. I mean, just 2 of these ESPN. James Harden and the Rockets at a breaking point. James Harden in catch-up mode with Rockets after holdout. Russell Westbrook appalled by Rockets team culture. Like, there's so many articles on the Rockets right now. Is James Harden the biggest winner of the extension? James Harden makes preseason debut. And there's another thing to talk about, though, is Giannis.
When Houston does it, we do it big. When we go bad, we go really bad.
Make the
Just
news.
Like when the Astros knew how to make news. The Rockets know how to make news. The Texans, but they just suck. They don't make really news. Everyone knows they suck, so they're kind of out of the loop. But yeah, the James Harden has really the culture. The Russell Westbrook article really surprised me because I thought they were friends, and I thought he knew who James Harden was getting into. But apparently, him coming here, he realized how bad. So I wonder when the James Harden shift started. I think you could make an argument that it started in Houston because they literally gave him everything he wanted and they just backed him 100%, which brings me to my next point. And the reason your dad doesn't like the NBA, the reason my dad doesn't like the NBA, the reason you're kind of on the NBA is because players have too much power. We talk about MLB players needing more power, but in the NBA, it's the opposite. The players need less power. In my personal opinion, you give a player this much power like James Harden has over a franchise, now the whole culture is ruined. And now it's not a franchise. It's literally players doing whatever the hell they want all the time. And that's what James Harden is. There's no accountability for James Harden. He shows up whenever he wants.
I was going to say, read this. Look at this quote. I'm going to read this quote and put it up on the screen. Westbrook didn't tolerate tardiness, with the Rockets' scheduled departure times were treated as mere suggestions by Harden and others. Nothing ever starts on time.
It was mainly Harden. It was mainly Harden.
Yeah. Well, because he sets the tone. He sets the tone.
Can you imagine Tim Duncan getting early to a practice and Craig Popovich not saying? First off, Tim Duncan would never do that. But if Tim Duncan showed up late to something, Greg Popovich would have his ass. He doesn't care who you are. Greg Popovich has chewed out Duncan, Parker, Ginobili. There's a culture that San Antonio had for a very long time, but that culture is not popular in other NBA locker rooms. And I don't think it's just James Harden. I think he's one of the worst at it because he does get whatever he wants, but you can't expect this to be any different if you're Houston or these big market teams that pay these guys so much money and then just give them all this leeway and basically have them run the franchise. And LeBron James is kind of he's kind of one of those guys that led the way like that. Everyone thinks they can be LeBron James. They can't. LeBron James backs it up with his play. And he's an incredible athlete. And I have to admit, he backs it up. He runs the team. Everywhere he goes, he's basically the general manager, the head coach. Wherever he goes, he's the guy. He calls the meetings. He does everything. Now everybody else thinks they can have that power. But not everybody else is like LeBron James and they think like that. James Harden is not fit to be that type of guy. He's not a leader. He can't be the face of a franchise. He can't be the head coach, the GM, the guy calling the shots when it's such a laissez-faire atmosphere over there where you just show up whenever you want and go to practices late, go to meetings late. Like if you're a true professional like Westbrook is, he's probably like, what the hell have you done to this team, man? They don't do anything. Nobody shows up. Nobody cares. You show up on game day. You shoot a bunch of threes and you win. You win a lot of games. But that's not going to get you the discipline to win in the playoffs. You have to start early. And so James Harden has ruined I've said the Rockets have ruined James Harden. And now James Harden is just kind of floating off of that. And now he's running with it. But it starts with the players having way too much power in the NBA. He showed up at a Rockets practice with his logo on. It wasn't anything to do, like he didn't have any Rockets gear on, Reed. He had his logo on, James Harden apparel on his shirt. Like, how selfish is that? You come to practice late. You're in Vegas. You tell everybody, yeah, I was in Vegas.
After all this trauma about wanting to get out of Houston, so all your teammates know that you want to get out.
Yeah, and then you show up and your own shit. And why you married? My dad keeps buzzing me, so I'm going to let you go. But I'm going to come right back. I just have to tell him to stop. But that's my point about it. It's just a whole bunch of mess. But I'm going to mute my mic real quick.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not a basketball guy, so I don't know this crap as well as Parker does. But from the outside looking in, he said it perfectly. He mentioned the San Antonio Spurs culture, right? The San Antonio Spurs had so many years. They knew where the ball was going before they even had it in their hands. They had a system in place. They were going to be here on time. It was like almost like boot camp, right? I think the way that Greg Pop ran that team, he wasn't afraid to chew out his big stars. I mean, Tim Duncan was as big a star as it gets, and he knew who the boss was. He knew that Greg Pop was the guy that ran it. So maybe I think Parker said something else that really kind of stuck out to me. He said that the Rockets ruined Harden, and now Harden is just sticking with it. And I think this article is really interesting that I pulled up, and I've already deleted it like an idiot. But basically, Russell Westbrook came in with the expectation to set these tones of we're going to be on time, and he wanted to set that.
And Westbrook
culture.
knew Harden in OKC, and Harden was a rule follower in OKC.
Yeah, because he was the little boy.
Player.
Yeah, he was the little boy, and then he gets here, and Westbrook shows up, and he knows what it takes to win, and he's like, guys, y'all aren't doing what it takes to win, and Harden's like, well, I don't care, bro. I'm getting paid buckets, and all I got to do is hit threes, like. Yeah. And then I can go and party with my personal trainers in Vegas in the off season.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, if you put yourself in Harden's shoes, why would he want to change it? The guy's making millions.
It's one of those things where Harden. It's one of those things where I learned from teaching too. Is like you can't really blame the kids, and I'm calling Harden a kid because it just seems like basketball players, they never really had. When you're a celebrity like that, whether it's athletes or athletes, actors, whatever, those really popular people that always get boom, boom, boom. They're really good at something and everybody just adores them. Well, Harden was obviously really good at basketball, so I'm sure so that opened some doors for him. But he's probably never been told no a lot in his life. And so when you go to kids and you set expectations, or you don't set expectations, and you don't tell them no, and you don't set the rules early on, then of course, of course, when someone walks in and starts telling you no, you're going to be pissed. And that's exactly what Steven Silas is doing. Steven Silas, the new coach, Steve Silas, he's coming in. He started telling people no. He started telling people, hey, this is what we need to do. This is what we don't need to do. I'm setting the new perimeters here. And Harden's probably like, screw that. Mike D'Antoni isn't here anymore. I could push Mike D'Antoni around. I could push Daryl Morey around. He was my little puppet master. I just told him to trade for somebody, and he brought him to me. And so Harden had complete and utter power. Nobody told him no. You get guys like CP3, Kevin McHale, a Rockets coach early on. He was a great coach for the Rockets, but he got chased off by Harden. CP3 got chased off, and now Russell Westbrook got chased off. And so at some point, who are you going to blame? You got to blame this. You blame the organization, but it's because no one told Harden no, and now he's just doing what he wants.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I'd be real shocked if come regular season James Harden is still in a Rockets uniform, but
yeah,
time will tell. I don't know. I mean, he very well, at the end of the day, he's one of the best regular season scorers in the league, so even if you keep him around,
yeah.
You know what, Yomi? I was thinking about this.
He played the game. I mean, he played the game against the Spurs in the preseason and whatever. He shot a couple threes. He did his thing. But at the very next day, the practice today, after the game, he came in and said, they asked him about it. Like, why haven't you been showing up? You look good. Those guys out there are playing hard with you, and you look like you're doing fine. He's like, oh, I was just in Vegas, my personal trainers. And it's like, dude, we have video. There's video evidence of Harden going into clubs without a mask, by the way, which if you're a COVID whatever person, you're probably really pissed about that because he was going in without a mask. And that's actually a responsibility thing too, because whether you don't think COVID's serious or not, if you go into a club and you're a professional athlete and people depend on you and people's jobs depend on you, and you go into a club and you don't follow NBA protocol or COVID protocol, then all of a sudden you're putting your whole team and your whole organization in jeopardy, and the people who work in that organization. I'm not just talking about the other superstars. I'm talking about the cafeteria people, the concession people, the janitors. You're putting the whole thousands of people whose jobs are on the line. You're putting them at risk because you don't give a shit. Because you don't give a shit. You don't care if you shut down the whole team for 6-7 days. That's what that tells me. That pisses me off because you have responsibility. That'd be like me going as a teacher, not wearing my mask in front of the kids. I don't care how I feel personally about it. I know the rules. I know what happens if I don't do something. And if I do it anyway, that just shows you don't care. And that really does tick me off a little bit. But
I 100% agree. 100% agree. And especially if you're supposed to be the leader of this organization and of this team, like at some point you got to set a tone. And obviously Harden has not been doing that. So maybe it's time to get him out, find someone that will. But
yeah, there.
I don't know. I think that's going to do it for the Rockets today. Let's talk some college football. Texas A&M Aggies still 7-1, still have a lot of impressive wins, still probably not going to make the playoffs. Of course, they had their game last week against Ole Miss, postponed due to COVID. They're supposed to play Tennessee this weekend. We will see how that goes. Of course, Tennessee is not very good, so even if they do end up winning that game, I don't think it'll boost them a whole lot. They're currently ranked 5th behind Ohio State, who has only played 4 games, something like that.
Yeah, not very many. And Ohio State does have, well, that's not going to change anything. But this week, Ohio State does play Northwestern, who's a pretty good team. But
Northwestern is a good team.
I just don't know. It just feels like Ohio State's going to do what they have to do. And then the only chance that I think A&M has is, I believe, Notre Dame and Clemson still play each other, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but would they drop
Notre Dame and Clemson do play each other? They're a 2-3 matchup. So what if
would they drop
Clemson
one of those
gets
teams
destroyed
out of the top
back?
4?
What if one of those teams just loses terribly? Maybe they bounce out. Maybe A&M moves up. We don't know. Because A&M is number 5, I think, right? They're right there.
They're number 5, yeah. Well, the last time those two teams played, it was an overtime game. So that's probably why they both stayed in the top 4.
Probably going to be a close game.
I think you're right. I think it would take Notre Dame beating the snot out of Clemson.
Yeah.
And I don't see that happening. But I think you're right. If Clemson did take a big enough beating and A&M just keeps
You would have to.
creaming people. I think that would definitely get you in the running, but I don't know, man. It sure feels like they're gonna get some big school bias and not make the playoffs, but we'll see.
And
I
it's
guess.
crazy to think because you're looking at, well, the Aggies have always been like looked down upon because they're in the same state as UT, and everyone still says, "Oh, UT, Texas, yeah,
They
they're
haven't
the
been
school
good
to
in
beat."
10 years.
They haven't.
They've been
But
terrible.
But for some reason,
Beat Iowa State once, and then we'll talk.
I still don't get the feeling that A&M is respected as the best. I mean, A&M to me has been the best football school in Texas for a little while now.
Them or TCU. TCU's been real good.
Yeah, for some reason, but they definitely don't talk about TCU.
No.
So but UT's always going to get that glamour, and they don't understand how big of a deal A&M football is, and how big. And actually, yeah, it's College Station, it's a college town or whatever, but it's not like Austin, Texas. But it is. They've got their own thing going for them. They got pretty nice. They got a really nice stadium. They've got. I want to say their enrollment has got to be up there with UT. I would think.
Insane facilities.
Yeah, so it's not like it's that big of a thing. So they really need to start paying attention to A&M. Hopefully this wakes them up to A&M in the future. If next year A&M's still hanging around and their only loss is to Bama and they still miss the playoffs again next year, then I'm going to have a problem, because then it's going to start being like, okay, they're just losing to Bama every year. Like, at some point you got to let these guys in. But who knows? Maybe they have to beat Bama in order to get respect. Maybe that's the one.
Well, they already
maybe
have.
That's what they have to do.
Of course, they haven't done it in a couple years.
They did it with Johnny. You're right.
But yeah, they did. But I mean, I think if you really look at Ohio State, to get in the playoffs, the Aggies need to win out, and they need Ohio State to lose to Northwestern on Saturday. I don't know.
Easiest.
Yeah,
fix.
that's the easiest path. Northwestern is ranked 14th, so we're all going to be big Northwestern fans this weekend. Huskies, right? Northwestern Huskies.
I believe so. But
think
let's
they're
look.
the Huskies.
So I wonder, how crazy would it be if Northwestern wins and then all of a sudden they jump up? They jump over A&M.
No, they're at 14. They would not go that far. They'd probably crack the top 10 if they won that game, but they're not gonna. Yeah. They wouldn't jump that far.
That's the problem when you don't have this full season to go off of. You get all this like, oh, what ifs? What if this? What if that? This whole COVID thing, and Northwestern they lost to Michigan State, so there's no way they're getting over A&M. But still, my point is, if maybe Northwestern was undefeated rolling into this weekend, and then all of a sudden, because it seemed to me they're really pushing for a Big Ten team to get into the playoffs.
They usually try to get pretty equal representation. They've already got an SEC team.
They hate it. They hate when it's two SEC teams.
They hate two SEC teams.
But sometimes it is two SEC teams that are in the top four.
Because it's the best conference.
Yes,
come at me.
exactly.
Come at me. It's the best conference. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
It's not a whole lot of debate there. No, it's the best conference. Shut up. Like, it's just how it is. And at the end of the day, the playoffs isn't about the best four teams from each conference. It's about the best four teams, period. So it really shouldn't matter if they were coming from the Sun Belt, the ACC, the SEC.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't matter where they come from. This is a playoff for the top four teams. Who gives a crap where they come from? Get rid of the conference politics. Put the top four teams there, and I think you can make an argument that the Aggies are a top four team. But I don't know what more you want them to prove. I guess you want them to beat Bama, but if they beat Bama, they're probably number one. So,
yeah, I mean, you beat Bama, you're automatic. You feel like
you're automatically number one. But anyway,
so
it'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend. This will be a big weekend for college football, especially for the Aggies. If they can somehow sneak in, go Northwestern Huskies, I believe is their logo. Another interesting thing in college football today is early signing day. I used to cover a lot of early signing days in college at Texas State. Just wanted to do a quick little run through of some teams that I care about and how they're doing. I'm gonna pull up 24/7 Sports so y'all can look at what I'm looking at. Shamar Turner, defensive end from DeSoto, Texas, recently committed to Texas A&M. He signed today. He's a 5-star, ranked as the 4th best defensive end in the country. 6'3.5", 282. He'll be a good player. Ruben Fothery right here, listed as one of the better offensive tackles in the country. Kendall Daniels is a big safety. They went real defense heavy. I mean, you see defensive end, safety, defensive end. You got another defensive end here. This guy's more of a linebacker. He's 6'4", 215. A couple corners. They did go a couple offensive linemen. They added, like I said, Father Reed. They added Trey Zune down here out of Colorado. And, of course, they added dual-threat quarterback Eli Stowers out of Geyer in Denton, Texas. He's a dual-threat guy, so likes to keep those quarterbacks coming in, even though Haynes King is going to take over quarterback next year. And I'm really excited to see what Haynes King can do at the helm next year. But for now, you have Kendall Mon, Mr. Captain Aggie himself. I did not realize how illustrious of a career he has had. He has a lot of records in Texas A&M football history. And I know he's a 4-year starter, but I didn't know he'd been putting up that big of numbers. But apparently he has like the most passing yards or something in school history.
You feel old now looking at these recruits, and that they're like 4 or 5 years younger than us now. Looking at these guys,
Yeah,
and it's like used to when you were kids, you looked at these college players, and like, man, like those guys are old and like cool and strong and whatever. Now you're like 24, 25, sitting here thinking of these guys like, man, I don't know. It just time hits you in a weird way. Because looking at all these recruits, like I'm looking at the tight end for Texas A&M because I'm just fascinated with Weidermeyer, the tight end for Jalen Weidermeyer for Texas A&M. He's not a recruit or anything.
A sophomore.
But the dude, he is 19 years old and he's 6'5", 265 pounds, born in the year 2000. And I'm just like, damn, that's like my little brother's age right there. Like, holy. Like, what is going on?
Yeah,
he's passing us by.
He'll be a first 3-round draft pick next year.
He's a stud. Yeah, he's a stud.
6'5", 265. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of, where is he from? Let's see.
Oh yeah, that's good. Oh wow.
I don't remember if he's an Ag. I don't even know if he's a Texas boy or not.
He is from actually
Dickinson, Texas.
That's Houston area. Yeah.
Yeah, Dickinson, Texas.
Just south of Houston. Close to Alvin, where Nolan Ryan called his home for. I guess he played high school there. Nolan Ryan did, but then he left. But yeah, that's around the Nolan Ryan area, that area of the Houston area down there, down south. So yeah, but he's just like all these guys, man. It's just like college guys you used to look up. Now it's just looking at our age, man. 24, 25. Just we're getting old, man. That's my whole.
Trying to make me feel old.
We're getting old. I just hit me all of a sudden. I'm like, dang, we're just. All these recruits are passing us by. I mean, we graduated in 19, 20s are, so we're almost we're close to being 2 full years out of college. It's been 2 years since we've lived together in the 1203 apartment almost 2 years, getting close to it. I mean, dang, it feels like yesterday we were waking up, going to KTSW, doing our thing senior year, saying hi to Charlie, our roommate. It's just weird, man. Time flies by. The guys who have followed us all the way from the 1203 when we were there, it's just like the journey it's getting longer and longer as years go by.
No,
Crazy.
It really is. It's funny to look back on and think about how far we've gone in such a short amount, what feels like a short amount of time, and it really hasn't been. I mean, you and I have been good friends for like what 4 or 5 years now, and
going on that, but that doesn't seem that long.
Doesn't seem that long, but yeah, I mean, anyway, trip down memory lane. Looking at the Texas State recruits, they really only have 3 right now. Deontay Washington is a defensive end that signed from Independence Community College. That might sound familiar. Independence was once the focus of Last Man U, so that's an interesting signing. Eric Sutton, a cornerback grad transfer from SMU, Southern Methodist, is coming to Texas State for his senior year. Charles Fletcher, a offensive guard. I don't know what school that is. Let me see if I can figure out what school this is. He is a grad transfer from North Carolina State. That's where he's coming from. So that's really it. I mean, no recruits to speak of, at least not on 24/7 Sports, which is kind of the best website that I've always used for recruiting. So kind of quiet.
Where do you put
on that end? So I don't know.
Where do you put this Texas State football season now that it's all over now, and I don't think we've talked since it's kind of come to an end. We were pretty excited about the first couple games, and then it's all of a sudden it was just like, they got a couple wins here and there, but it just the excitement died down really quick for me as a Texas State. I know they say there's improvement, but from just a win-loss column guy, it's just
win-loss column there
wasn't. It just felt like it was the same old. There was excitement there with Spavital that I saw. but I just didn't get the same feeling that everybody. Some people are really hopeful, but I don't know, man. I just think seeing what Coastal Carolina has done in that short amount of time, seeing what a few of these Sun Belt schools have done in the short time they've been uh, D1 schools, especially Coastal Carolina, that story's been awesome. But it just shows that Texas State can be, especially in weird years like this, Texas State can be a heavy hitter. And they have the facilities and they have the resources, I think. It just hasn't. They haven't been able to get over that first hurdle, which is, I guess, winning more than a couple Sun Belt games.
Yeah, I guess I kind of agree with what you said. A lot of people said they saw improvement. They definitely put together a better on the field product than they have in the past, and I know the 2-10 record doesn't suggest that. But the more you look at it, I mean, they lost to SMU by less than a touchdown. It took 2 overtimes for them. They never should have lost to UTSA, but I mean, they lost in overtime. They beat ULM pretty good. Lost to Boston College, who I believe was ranked at the time, by only 3 points. They lost to South Alabama by 10 points. So my point is, like, they're in these games. Georgia Southern by 2 points. So, like, they're so close, dude, to being a 6-7 win team. They're so close. You just got to start turning the tide. I feel like we've been saying that for years, right? It feels like we have. But
that's why I know what you mean, but it's just like, same old, same old.
I will say there's definitely more talent on the team this year than there was in the entire time I've been watching. Now,
the receiving core was amazing.
Haydell's going pro. I don't know if he'll get drafted, but he'll get a spot somewhere. But that cornerbacks, that secondary is only going to get better next year. They got a bunch of kids coming back, other than the one that got shot, R.I.P. But I mean, you still got Jerron Morris and a couple other really, really big players. He'll have another year with Brady McBride. He can learn that offense. He can get used to some of his receivers. And if that O-line is just going to get better. So I think it's a team that is close to at least being about 500. I don't think they're anywhere near being a 10-1, top 25 team. I hate to break it to you. I don't know if we'll ever see that for Texas State football, but I think they're getting closer and closer to being a respectable team. And they were definitely a more entertaining team to watch this year than they have been, which is important because Texas State struggles to sell tickets. But if you can give them something to watch, something to cheer for, something to be excited about, maybe you can get more butts in the seats, and that should help. So
it does, and it does start with, obviously, I do think Texas State fans would. I do think they would. I think they would show up and show out for their team if they did. If it is as simple as just getting those wins strung together, but also there is an internal thing with the fans at Texas State, and we've seen it working at KTSW. It seems to me there's a lot more people that are just so eager to they'll talk the talk, they'll party, they'll tailgate, they'll do all these things. They talk about going to these games. We'll interview 10 people, and they'll say, "Yeah, I'm going to the game. Yeah, I'm going to the game." And then on game day, it's like crickets. Even when it's a game that's early on in the season, everyone's excited about it, and then we find out, oh, well, Dad had tickets to the Texas game, or I went to the A&M game, or, I went somewhere else and did the sports fan starts to trick when they go somewhere else. And it's like, dude, I had somebody in my fraternity that talked about, man, I'm going to the UT game with my dad. I'm like, what, dude, this is the biggest Texas State game of the season. Like it was a few years back when I was there, but it was just like, little comments like that, like they talk about being huge sports fans, but then they don't support their own university, and it's just like,
well, yeah, I mean, and we talked about this in Larry's class. Shout out to Larry Carlson. Yeah. But it's like, why go to a Texas State game, even if you're a Texas State student, when UT is right up the road?
It's right up the road.
College Station's an hour and a half away. Like
it's not that far. Yeah, it's
not that far. So like, you've really got to give them a reason to go. And,
that's true.
And when they're only winning 2 to 3 games a year,
yeah, you can't blame them.
Eventually, I'm kind of going right back against what I just said, but eventually you've got to stop saying, "Oh, they're so close." Eventually, you've got to start freaking winning. At some point, it's got to happen. And I don't know, man. I like Jake Spav. I think he can be the guy to do it, but I think they're gonna have to be patient with him. And I don't know how patient that the Texas State fan base is going to be because they've had enough of it. They've already been after Larry Tice for years and years and years. And
Good luck. We've seen Larry Tice work his magic. He can go up to a podium and completely shift the conversation. He's done it so many times in interviews with Larry Tice. He's so good at just skating by like a little slimy slime ball.
He's a cockroach. He's good at staying alive. He's the worst AD in Division I football. He's terrible.
Oh no, he does. He has something on somebody. I don't know how he got the job, but
I bet he's got something on Trouth, but I don't know.
Trouth, that's a little fishy. You don't hear a lot from. I don't know.
She refuses to acknowledge how crappy of a job he's doing, even though it's so obvious.
No, because she wants to be. She's got focus. I guess she just wants to really focus on academics. But I'm telling you, man. Here's my thought on all this whole thing. If your football team does really great, especially in Texas and college football in general, like if your college football team does great, a lot of those other things take care of themselves. Academics, money starts flowing in from donors, and everybody starts building up the university, and the university gets better facilities. The academics get better. The student population gets better. It starts with college football. There's an argument, like Larry was saying, college football is the front porch of the university. That's what you notice. You're not going to come into the house if your college football program is shit. No one's going to say, well, I want to go to Texas State. No one's going to say that. They're going to go to party maybe, but they're not going to go for serious academic shit. Like it starts with the football program, and then you kind of ease your way in. But Trouth kind of has this reverse engineering thing where she wants to kind of make it look like a really good school, which it is. The university's degrees are great. But you can't draw more people in if you don't have that good front porch. And Texas State doesn't have a good front porch. Let's just say it.
No, it's such a shame because it's a gorgeous campus. But I don't know. We will. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
I'm excited about the Louisiana Coastal Carolina game.
Yeah,
on December 19th.
That'll be good. I'm really intrigued to watch Coastal Carolina in postseason play. I'll definitely tune in to whatever bowl game.
Yeah, two ranked teams in the Sun Belt playing for the conference championship. I wonder when the last time that happened was. That's pretty cool.
That'll be worth watching. Hey, KTSW, get on it. Figure out when the last time we had that. I want to know. That's a interesting topic.
Just throwing that out there. Yeah, the last time the two conference championship teams were ranked in college football.
I would love to know that stat. NFL. Let's talk some NFL. We're getting a little long here. We still got about 25 minutes or so, but Dallas Cowboys. 4-9, right? Got a win last weekend over the Cincinnati crap Bengals, whatever you want to call them. They're trash, especially without Joe Burrow. But
win's a win.
Win's a win, especially with how crappy this year's gone. You sent me a graphic earlier today, and I did not know this, that the Dallas Cowboys could still make the playoffs.
And their schedule is the best out of those other schedules I saw. The 3 games the Cowboys have left seem winnable. And the 3 games the other teams have left, a little bit tricky. I'm telling you, bud, Cowboys could sneak their way in to a playoff game. And I mean, as much as I hate to talk shit on the Cowboys, I'm tuning in for that playoff game because I want to see if the Cowboys do get in and actually win a couple of playoff games. That'd be pretty good TV. That'd be pretty good.
I agree.
Ratings. I mean, Cowboys just find a way in 2020 to win the East, and then they surprise some teams. And the NFC is not as strong as the AFC. The AFC is ridiculous. So maybe they can surprise a team or two in the NFC early on, and maybe they don't make the Super Bowl, but who knows? They get in. Anything can happen once they get in. The Cowboys' offense is going to be there, I guess, but we'll see about their defense.
Sort of. I mean, if you look at so if the Cowboys to make playoffs, they need to win out. So they play the Giants, Eagles, and the 49ers. 49ers probably
might be tough.
49ers probably the toughest out of those 3. I mean, Philadelphia and New York are going to be tough just because it's division play. They also need the Giants to lose at least 2, and they are going to play Cleveland and Baltimore, and then Dallas. I don't see them beating Cleveland or Baltimore. Straight up.
I'm telling you, dude, the AFC, there's no easy games. They're playing 2 AFC teams. Both those teams, with the Ravens winning over Cleveland, the last game they played, they beat Cleveland. I guess it was the Monday night game. They beat Cleveland. And so now they're kind of in the hunt, man. They're trying to up their stakes. They're trying to up their value. So you look at the Ravens, they're going to be playing for month. They're going to be playing for real
And Cleveland's a legit
the
Super
Browns
Bowl
are
contender.
definitely gonna be playing for real.
The
Oh
Browns
yeah,
are good.
the
They're
Browns
really
are damn
good.
good.
They're gonna be. They're gonna be a fun team to watch in the playoffs.
The Browns are good. The Steelers are good. The Bills are good. The Chiefs are good. I mean, when do you want me to stop? The AFC is loaded. The Titans are good. Yeah.
Miami is good all of a
Miami
sudden.
is good. What the hell?
I don't know how
The
that happened.
Texans. The Texans. Oh, sorry. What?
Maybe not. Maybe not. Anyway,
Texans are in
Washington.
the AFC. Oh.
They also really need Washington to lose out. Now Washington's got Seattle. They'll lose that one. They've got Carolina. That one's a bit of a toss-up. And then they've got Philadelphia. That one's also a toss-up. Washington seems to have found a recipe for beating bad teams. Now, they can't beat good teams like the Seattle Seahawks, but they seem to have figured out a way to beat the bad teams like Carolina and Philadelphia. So I don't know. Maybe I'd be shocked. It's still a long shot for the Cowboys to make the playoffs, but I guess we will see. Personally, and I think Ryan, one of our listeners right now, will agree with me, I don't want them in the playoffs. I want them to lose out. Because
well, the Texans have given up, so maybe you just want to fall.
I want the draft
Texans.
pick. Y'all know a first-round pick. We have a first-round pick. I want the draft pick.
Yeah, we just lose to lose because we like it.
Because you like losing. Make it interesting. You know?
Yeah.
Win every year. Some drama in there. But yeah, I don't want Dallas to make the playoffs. In fact, I want them to lose as many games as they can from this point out because I want the draft pick. I want to get higher up in that draft pick. And I don't care.
What if you have a magical Super Bowl run, Reed?
Well, then I'm not going to complain. But I personally,
I'm just saying,
you don't have your star quarterback. Your offensive line's all banged up. Like, don't tank. Like, I obviously still want them to go and compete. But personally,
now that's a fine line because the Jets are actually trying to lose, and so you're not beating them out. You're not going to be worse than the Jets, man.
I don't think
Jets.
I'm not talking the number one pick. I just want to be the top 10. Like, maybe they already are. I don't know.
They probably could be. But
Dallas is always stuck in this, not quite in the back end of the round, but never in the front of the round. So they never. Now, last year they got lucky because a top 5 guy fell all the way to them in the middle back of the round. But I mean, I still think if they could just get in the top 10, they can really add a player to this defense because that's what they need. They need defense. If they're not going to get Justin Fields and replace Dak Prescott, because Justin Fields is going to be a beast, and I think he's legit an option, I'd rather let's add to that defense, find someone that can shore up the secondary or can add to the pass rush or something. But that's what they need. They need some spark on defense, ideally in the secondary. I think they can do it in the top 10, but they can't do that if they went out and they go 5-7, 5-9, and lose in the first round of the playoffs. All of a sudden, you're picking 15th or 16th, and you're not getting in the top 10. So ideally, they lose out.
Potentially. So looks like Trevor Lawrence going to the Jets.
He's going one for sure. I don't know.
So
he might pull Eli Manning and say, no, I'm not going there.
Do you think he pulls an Eli Manning was my next question.
Dude, I wouldn't blame him.
He should.
If Adam Gase is still there, absolutely. Absolutely.
An Eli Manning.
Absolutely. Adam Gase completely wasted Sam Darnold. And he has come out and said as much.
There was high hope with Sam Darnold. There was high hope at one point.
Sam Darnold is probably going to go somewhere else, Parker, and be very good.
I remember being excited about Sam Darnold because he was when we were in college. He came out around the same time, right?
Sean Shannon
and he was with the Josh Allen kind of Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold.
Yeah, that class. Yeah.
I mean, of course, Josh Allen's definitely leading that pack, but man, Sam Darnold was up there. I mean, he was talked about very highly, and now it's like.
Well, Adam Gase flat out said that he probably didn't. He probably mishandled his quarterbacks.
Trying to first article I see, Adam Gase trying. This is from NorthJersey.com. So this is some New Jersey Nets a Jets fan who's probably angry at life, and he's blogging this. And I see this article. Adam Gase trying to figure out where things went wrong. That's the first article
let me
I see
think.
on Adam. I type in Adam Gase, and it says Adam Gase trying to figure out where things went wrong. Says he let down Jets ownership. Good for Adam. He's admitting defeat.
I'll tell you where you went wrong. Okay? Step 1, You hired Adam Gase. There you go. Fixed it.
Oh,
Figured
but
it
if
out.
you're Adam Gase trying to figure that out, he's like, oh, I got hired. Now what do I do now?
I'm screwed now, man. I don't know what to
Oh,
do.
they hired me. They called my bluff.
Ah, dang it. Now what do
Now
I
I
do?
have to coach. That's like when you lie on the resume and someone hires you and you're like, oh, shit, dude. What am I doing?
I didn't think I'd get this far.
Sunday comes around. Guys, how do you coach?
Yeah, I don't know, man. How do you develop quarterbacks? I didn't.
But okay, it's funnier the more I read. It's just like his own quotes. Like, I tried to figure out where things went wrong. What can we change? It's like you're trying to evaluate things as you go and adjust and try to fix the issue, and just a bunch of crap. I don't know what I'm doing. He doesn't say that, but it gets funnier. It's just
That's
like him
essentially what he said. He essentially said,
Yeah.
"I don't know what I'm doing. I wasted my quarterback." Like, yeah, it's man, what a crap
poor guy.
show.
Some people aren't. Coaching's hard.
Man,
Head coach
and
would be hard.
to think the New York Jets saw what he did in Miami and how bad they were, and they were like, "That's the guy that I want. I want him."
What
coaching.
was he before?
He was
an
the head
offensive
coach in
coordinator or-
Miami.
Well, so, but before that, I wonder what he did before that to get to that. Because some people just can't be they can be really good coordinators, but they just can't be a
Well,
coach.
I think he was at one point regarded as like this offensive guy.
Maybe he should have just stayed there. Because but the offensive guy, but offense is what he's having. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's
He's just not good.
that is the fact that he said he's let Jets ownership down,
Yeah,
and
he
he still has
admitted
a
that.
job. They haven't fired him. He still has a
was just
job.
It was just some random New Jersey blog too. That's what was funny. It was just like some angry guy posting. Oh fuck! I'll get this quote.
Yeah, that is.
Jets fan base is not a fan base you want to piss off. By the way,
No, Gary
that's not
Vaynerchuk will pay to have you
yeah.
sniped.
yeah, you won't make it very far.
Gary V will hunt you down.
Yeah.
Who's gonna win, Logan Paul or Floyd Mayweather?
Oh, I wanted to talk to you about this because you're the one who kind of turned me on to YouTube boxing.
I just
And,
love boxing. That's what I've
You
learned.
do. You're good.
I've
You
learned I
and my
like
friend
boxing.
you and my friend Jonathan Gonzalez have turned me on to boxing. I wasn't really a guy who paid much attention to
I
boxing
wasn't either.
or
I really wasn't either.
UFC or things like that. But then I started watching. Well, Conor McGregor definitely he drew me in. Floyd, watching his fights every now and then they had this whole thing with the YouTube guys boxing. And first off, recap it a little bit. I know we're kind of late on time, but Jake Paul beating Nate Robinson. He didn't just beat Nate Robinson. He punked Nate
You
Robinson.
knocked him the hell out.
Nate Robinson talked so much. Listen, I would feel different, and I'm not a Paul. Well, I'm slowly becoming a Paul brother fan because I do watch their podcast Impulsive a little bit, and I do kind of my guilty pleasure. I do watch some of their videos. Their videos are kind of cool. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm not like a huge. Paul guy.
I'm okay with Logan. Jake's a little.
Jake
dick.
is too far. Jake's stupid.
Jake's a little
but
dickhead. Yeah.
Jake's stupid. But Jake was on Impulsive with his brother, and he was saying. He's saying that Nate talked all this shit. Nate started all this. Nate was the one who came on to him and wanted to fight him. And all Jake did was just back it up. And Jake's won both his fights so far. Logan, a little bit iffy on fighting, but he has challenged more competitive people. Logan going after Floyd Mayweather. He did his podcast right after that. And he said, listen, I'm going to be confident. I have size advantage, all this stuff. But he said, just by him stepping in the ring with Floyd Mayweather, he's already won the fight. And I agree with that. I don't think he has to win the fight. I think Logan Paul has already made himself legitimate just by stepping in the ring. Floyd Mayweather is one of the best boxers of all time, whether you love him or
If
hate
not
him.
the best. I mean,
Him just showing up is like, oh, YouTube stars are for real. They back their crap up. YouTube's all of a sudden kind of skyrocketed to a whole other level now because now all these YouTube guys are in the mainstream now. And so that's good for our generation because we're YouTube people. We're the generation of YouTube, social media. And so we're making ourselves legitimate. Now people are going to be like, wow, this generation is for real. They are taking themselves seriously. So it's been kind of a cool thing to watch. I don't think he's going to win the fight, but
no, I can tell you exactly how the fight's going to go. I can tell you exactly how it's going to go. No one's getting knocked out, okay?
Okay, it's going to go the full because
Floyd's
not really a knockout guy.
Floyd's going to play the points game. He's just going to punch him down. Logan's not going to touch him. He's not going to get a clean shot
Logan's going to throw some haymakers, though.
He's going to throw them, but they ain't going to connect because Floyd Mayweather is a professional. He's the best that's ever done it. He knows how to avoid hits. He's done it for, 50 fights? And he's like 50, 49-0? Like
Logan's whole argument was it just takes one to catch him.
Well, yeah.
But I don't think he's going to catch him.
I don't think he's going to catch him.
But that comment's enough to make me want to watch.
Prove me wrong. And more power to you.
It's enough to make me want to watch the fight.
For sure.
Because what if he does catch him?
I'm definitely going to watch. I am really intrigued by it. And the hilarious thing about it is it's such a size mismatch because like Logan's like 6'2", like big old dude. I bet.
Yeah, that's why it's an exhibition. Because in professional boxing, this would never.
No, it would never happen. Because yeah. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. Don't go into it expecting an actual if you've never watched boxing before, don't go into this match expecting to see what boxing is. This is nothing like what boxing actually is, what you're going to see in this exhibition match. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. It's really not that far away, February of 2021, so it's only a couple months.
That Tyson fight though, you could tell Tyson was just doing body shots. He didn't want to kill the guy.
No, he didn't want to. They're buddies.
But
they were
he was still but you saw a little bit of that old Tyson come out in that fight, which was kind of cool to see. It wasn't full Tyson, but it was still like, a couple of his punches I was like, I was clinching from like just watching. But
yeah.
Like but the Logan but the brother, Jake Paul, I mean, he did what he had to do, man. I don't think Nate, he's just the brother, man. I don't know much about him, but
he's
I
a
just
punk.
know
That's all you need to know.
He's won his fights.
Well, now he wants to fight.
Knocked out Nate Ross. He wants to fight some loser.
He wants to fight Dylan Dennis, who is just like a UFC guy that hasn't even been that good. He wants to fight
and honestly, he might beat Dylan Dennis too. But
he probably would.
He's not gonna mean anything.
Dylan Dennis isn't a boxer; he's a UFC guy. So unless he's
pulling pranks on him already. I saw him throwing like balloons or something at his press con. He was being interviewed by a bunch of people, and then on Twitter, Jake Paul was just. He's a clown, dude. He's a frat boy, pretty boy clown. That's all these guys are. They're pranksters. They're YouTube guys. But it's funny,
bro, with that Disney Channel flow. That's Jake Paul.
It's funny that these guys are in this mainstream talk, though.
Before we end the show, I got one more fight I want to put you on, and I want you to start following.
Okay.
Do you know who Hafthor Bjornsson is?
No.
All right. Hafthor Bjornsson is the mountain from.
Oh, okay. I know who that is.
He's a strongman. He's one of the best strongmen in the world.
I know who he is now.
He is going to box Eddie Hall. Eddie Hall is the man that owned. He's the 2017 winner of the strongman.
So he's a big guy too.
He's huge. Eddie Hall is the guy that broke the world record for the deadlift at 500 kg, which is like 1,200.
Oh my God! These big boys are gonna throw.
They're gonna throw down. I can't wait. And like, so Eddie Hall is much shorter. Eddie Hall is like what 6'2", 6'3", whereas Hafthor is like 6'9". He was a former professional basketball player.
Eddie Hall is 6'3", 362, and I'm getting the other guy.
But I think they're gonna fight in November. And
oh my God!
I cannot wait.
Whatever the Boar guy or whatever his name is, he's 6'9", 452. So he's got him by about 6 inches and about 100, almost 100 pounds. But I think when you're that strong, it probably just goes away. Both these guys are humongously
when you're
strong.
as big, big and strong. I mean, so Eddie Hall, they both have YouTube channels. Eddie Hall posts a little more regularly. I've kind of stumbled across him lately because I started watching some Strongest Man videos and. Came across Eddie Hall, and he's a great personality. You need to check him out. And dude, I would not want to get hit by him. He is scary. And look at this picture of him here. I'm gonna pull it up. They got this picture of him now that he's shredded down a little bit to get ready for the fight. Because I mean, obviously, so when he was here, it's a side by side. I'll pull up the side by side. When he was lifting, when he was doing the strongman, he wasn't building for this endurance type fight, right? So he was building more. So kind of going to be in the middle of the screen, but you should still be able to see it. So on the left here, this is him when he was doing Strongest Man. He was just big and bulky, like trying to get as much muscle as he can. And then you get to over here on the right where he's trying to shred down for this boxing match. I mean, he's a unit, man. He went from 430 to 360 pounds to get ready for this boxing match. I mean, and he looks real good on film. So I don't know. I think Hafthor is definitely going to have the reach and size advantage. I think Hafthor's hitting it pretty strong. I think he's lost a lot of weight as well. that's just a fight that I can't wait to watch. I think it's going to be so entertaining, and I
See
just
if they can see this.
I wanted to get
Oh.
you on it before
all
we
messed
could.
up. It was a picture of half Thor,
Half Thor. They just call him
Thor.
Thor.
Thor, Mountain, and his girlfriend Kelsey Henson. That's a big size difference there. It's like a hamster and a banana.
Here, I'll see if I can find it. I can at least find a picture of him. So here's a picture of him, and he's getting ready for
Oh
boxing.
God, he's gonna kill her. Oh
Here-
no,
Here's a picture.
he's gonna eat her, dude. It's like King Kong. That's amazing that he's that much bigger than another human.
So there's a picture of Half Thor Bjornsson in
They make him
boxing
that big.
shape, So
You know, we're humans too, Reed, but it's weird.
we are not built
big.
that way.
That guy's big, and he's the same species as us, and he's like a lot bigger than us.
7 foot, like 400 pounds. And I'm here 5'9", sitting like 200. Like
Yeah, whatever, man. It's just it's unbelievable these guys that do this stuff.
human beings are cool.
I followed it. I followed the Strongest Man competition. It was always fun to see. So they're gonna box it out, huh? They're boxing, or they're UFC
So,
fighting, or what is it?
They're boxing, so they had a dispute. So
Well,
Eddie
can
Hall.
Can they actually get their hands across?
Oh yeah, they're so like I said, go watch Eddie Hall YouTube.
Well, like,
after
look,
this.
because look, I have trouble doing that, and I'm huge. This is how I fight.
you just
That's why I'm a wrestler. Well, I'm
It's
big.
just
I'm
the
pretty.
jab, man.
I'm pretty
Jab.
big too. You know.
Get them jabs, get the hands up. Just
Oh yeah, if I do this,
boom.
uppercut city.
What are you gonna be, dude? The head's here. You're throwing here. You ain't hit.
Hey, sometimes I'm untrainable. Okay, you either win with me or you don't. That's just my move. Now, if I had a trainer, my trainer would be talking so much shit.
All right.
Ray,
It's official. Reed Graff versus Parker Ray, May 2021. Get your tickets.
City, baby, you're not gonna get me out of the chin. You're not gonna get close to me, bud.
Hope y'all enjoyed the episode of the 1203.
That would
we're
be
gonna,
funny.
We're gonna take a week break for Christmas, and we will be back 2 weeks from today. So make sure you catch that show. Parker, you got anything else you want to say before we end it?
Like one of those anime chicks. The face.
You gotta do the
That's
tongue
gonna
thing too.
That's gonna follow me. That's not going away.
You're about to get memed in hell.
Oh no.
All right, let's end
All
it
right.
before we embarrass
We're good,
ourselves
bud.
more.